During this Colombo war that's going on, guys are being shot on both sides.
Yep.
You were right in the mix of all this and played a vital role in a hit on a guy named Nicky Black. Can you
Right.
just talk a little bit about this hit that went down?
Yeah, that was ultimately probably up to that point the biggest hit in the war, because he was going to take over. Vic's named him Consigliere once Carmine split, and Carmine stayed with Persico. He's still the official Consigliere, but at some point when the war was won and whatever, he planned on making Nicky Black his Consigliere. Joe Scopo was already the underboss, who later on got killed when I was in prison. And that is arguably the biggest hit now. But at the time, Nicky Black's hit sent shockwaves through the arena faction. There were breaks. People started coming over to our side. They were begging to end it. Of course, it happened right around the holiday, right after the holidays, like January 3rd or something like that. And what happened was he sent a message to my Uncle Albert, who was under him for many, many years. And somebody else in the club also heard it and told Carmine, our Consigliere, Carmine Sessa, that if me and my partner Jimmy don't come over to his side, he's going to kill us. So my uncle called me. I went to his house that night, and I remember him telling me, he would never raise a hand. He would never, ever hurt me. And he looked me in the eye and said, Butchie, that's what my nickname was. Don't you ever forget, blood is thicker than water. He says, this is what he said, and I want you to be careful. He says, you have nothing to worry about with me. As a matter of fact, if there's anything I can do, and I know what he meant. So I says, just let me know where we can find him. Those may not be verbatim, but those words, I understood what he meant, and I says, yep, we'll take any help we can get, something like that. Lucky enough, I think a couple of days later, a day, 2 days later, and it's funny, we had a truce for Christmas and New Year's, and John Gotti had asked that the shooting stop because his trial was starting. And Greg says, tell F him, mind his business, has nothing to do with our family. He can't tell us that. So we already made Nicky Black our #1 target for the threat. And as luck has it, like I says, within 2 days, we're driving around Avenue U, our usual circle that we do, but that was the first one of the day. We're parked there. I got my binoculars out. We have the car set up like with coffee cups with a scanner in there. So we look like surveillance, like we're cops, if anybody notices us. Baseball hats on. We spot him. I spot him through the binoculars. I say, that's Nicky Black. Greg says, where? Let's get him. Just like that. He was on and off the phone a lot, which is in court documents a lot because there's a good chance he was talking to his FBI contact. And if I had known who he was talking to for sure, I would say it, but he was on that phone a lot during the day, and it could have been him. We found out later, which makes it look like he was talking to his agent, that there was 4 or 5 surveillance cars following Nicky Black that day. And at that moment, they all got called back to headquarters. So they drove away while we were driving up towards him. And he started driving. He circled around the block. We followed. As soon as he pulled over, we pulled up alongside of him. At this point, I had my sunglasses on. I had a bandana on. I had the baseball hat, and I picked up a bandana. We pulled up alongside of him, and I had a shotgun. I was ready for him. Greg had a rifle. Unfortunately, he was losing it a little bit in his mind. He had the wrong button, the safety. The bullets came out instead of taking the safety off. But I was already leaned out the window. I put the shotgun, 6 inches or less right behind his ear, and the rest is history. Some of the pellets hit the other guy in the car, and the guy that was bringing money to the car. His pellets were flying all over. But he was done right there. We drove off, and it was, like I said, it was a hit that we thought would end the war. But these guys were in too deep. Most of them felt they could never be forgiven, and they would all be dead anyway. And the truth is, some of them could never be forgiven, like Vic Arena, Wild Bill, Vinny Lloyd. These guys did it a few times. They went against Carmine, so he was never going to forgive it again. So,
Right. You mentioned Joey Scopo was taken out. Eventually, Vic Arena was taken off the street. How did the war conclude? What ended the war?
well, after Joey Scopo got killed, and then Ali Boy was out, which is Junior's son, who was supposedly the heir apparent who was going to take it over. I don't know any details of this other than he got convicted of also luring Billy Catola. Wild Bill, one I said that could never get a pass, that came in and they killed him. So really, there was no power, no heavyweights left on the other side, and they were offered a chance to come back where they belonged, and they all came running. And there was, a new alignment. Different guys got put in positions. There were a lot of guys that, were never even heard of or never even did nearly the amount of work that the previous guys have done that became good fellas and captains and different positions. But that was the beginning of the end because it just wasn't the same anymore. But they did try to put it together again. Then Ali Boy went away. I guess he's got life. There's one Persico left that may be running things. I don't know. Some other big names, a guy named Joe that, did time and he got shot during the war. And there's rumors that he may be up at the top. Then there's guys that really were court jesters during the war that supposedly street bosses now, and I'm not mentioning their names because it's unnecessary. They know who they are. But I really don't know. It just, to me, it seems like a dead end. You get out of prison, stop going back to that life. There's nothing there. There's no loyalty. There never was. It's just a matter of pulling the knife out of your own back and sticking it in somebody else's. That's the way the life is. It's unfortunate. But anybody that doesn't see that is not the smartest, not the brightest bulb in the chandelier.